I accept the nomination. I, Akim Olufemi Gbajabiamila, God bless you all.
House passes 2022 budget with an increase of 736 billion naira over initial estimates. And government request on 2021 budget approved, even as the House extends implementation by 90 days. You're welcome to another interesting package of the program House Tickets, the program that educates and enlightens you on the activities of the House of Representatives, Federal Republic of Nigeria. I am Dihelia Momza, your anchor. The House recessed for the year 2021 last week. In that week, it sat for only one day, being Tuesday, the 21st of December, during which it passed the 2022 Appropriation Bill, thereby fulfilling its promise to Nigerians to do its best to adhere to the January to December budget cycle. Alongside the budget, the House also considered and passed the Finance Bill, which will aid budget implementation. Details of these landmark happenings form our package of House Tickets this week. I will return after this short break with the full details.
If we set our minds right, embrace each other in love and brotherhood, we will come through these troubling times. We will survive, we will recover, and then we will thrive. One nation under God, free, peaceful, and prosperous.
Glad to have you back. On the commencement of plenary for Tuesday, 21st December 2021, Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, closed the year with a special address to his colleagues, where he commended them for their steadfastness and commitment to Nigerians, especially in their resolve to pass the budget before the year runs out, thereby giving Nigerians a January to December fiscal year.
Today, we will pass the Appropriation Bill 2022 in the House of Representatives. This is in keeping with the new tradition of operating an annual national budget from January to December. I thank the chairmen of committees of the House and all the members who worked hard to ensure that we pass the budget in time to maintain the record we have set in this regard.
The Speaker said for a more effective budgeting system, the Ninth House will need to reform the envelope system of budgeting, which places a ceiling on the expenditure of ministries, departments, and agencies. Speaker Gbajabiamila touched on the COVID-19 pandemic and how it affects Africans, especially in travel for trade and other economic activities. He urged his colleagues to engage their constituents, especially on the importance of being vaccinated against the virus.
We have seen through years of scientific evidence that vaccines work. They have worked to combat yellow fever, measles. They have worked to combat yellow fever and measles and to end polio. At the height of the pandemic, we prayed for deliverance from the trap of this deadly disease.
The Speaker, in his address, highlighted some of the reforms the House has been able to achieve through the amendment and passage of various acts, including the Police Service Commission Repeal and Reenactment Act, while efforts are ongoing to also amend the Armed Forces Act, the Police Act, as well as the National Security and Civil Defense Code, and the Nigeria Customs Service Act. This, of course, brought up the Electoral Amendment Act, which the House had passed but was declined assent by the President. Speaker Gbajabiamila spoke on what the House would do.
When we return in the new year, we will resume our efforts to reform the electoral system in our country, and we will do it together. That is what the Nigerian people expect of us, and we will do our duty for God and country. Whichever way it turns out, we must not throw away the baby with the bathwater, and must deliver a credible and enduring electoral system to Nigerians. Every law is a living document, and so long as this one has breath, it must survive.
The Speaker did not end his address without acknowledging the efforts of the men and women of the armed forces who daily lay down their lives to preserve the unity of the country. He promised them the continued support of the Ninth House. He then charged his colleagues to remain steadfast to the oath they took to serve Nigeria without fail.
Honorable colleagues, I speak to you today in the assurance that we are God's people, a country of diverse cultures, united by our incomparable ability to bloom and thrive despite diversity and adversity. I remain confident that through whatever trials we might face, the triumphant spirit of the Nigerian people will overcome as we continue our march to peace, progress, and prosperity more abundant. And I am thankful to God Almighty for the grace and fortune to lead this assemblage of distinguished Nigerians in the Ninth House as we work together in this joint task of nation building.
With that address, the House moved on to consider the matters before it on the last day of the plenary, top of which was the passage of the 2022 budget. We will go on a short break, and when we return, we will bring you a report on the journey of the 2022 budget from presentation to passage. Keep watching.
The 2022 budget estimates were presented before a joint sitting of the National Assembly on Thursday, the 7th of October 2021.
On a positive note, we surpassed the non-oil taxes target by 7% in aggregate. The sustained improvement in non-oil taxes indicates that some of our revenue reforms are yielding positive results. I am pleased to inform you that we expect to fund MDA's capital budget fully by the end of fiscal year 2021. Capital releases thus far have been prioritized in favor of critical ongoing infrastructural projects in the power, roads, rail, agriculture, health, and education sectors. Our strategies to improve revenue mobilization will be sustained in 2022 with the goal of achieving the following objectives. A. Enhance tax and excise revenue through policy reforms and tax administration measures. B. Review the policy effectiveness of tax waivers and concessions. The fiscal year 2022 is very crucial to our efforts to ensure that critical projects are completed, put to use, and improve the general conditions of our people.
The budget, which was tagged Budget of Economic Growth and Sustainability, was to the tune of 16.39 trillion naira. The budget focused on diversifying the economy with robust MSME growth, investing in critical infrastructure, strengthening security and ensuring good governance, enabling a vibrant, educated and healthy populace, reducing poverty, and minimizing regional economic and social disputes, among other key areas. Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila, while receiving the budget, gave the assurance that exhaustive work will be done on the 2022 budget, just as he tasked MDAs on accountability and timeliness of passage.
Today, innovations in technology, the changing nature of global trade, the challenges of cross-border insecurity, and the increasing interdependence of nations each and together continue to present challenges we must overcome and opportunities we must embrace. The House has passed several important resolutions relating to healthcare access, primary education, rural infrastructure deficits, and national security that require actual funding. Where these restrictions have not been included in the Appropriation Bill, the House will work with the Senate and the Executive to see that the final version of this Appropriation Bill includes necessary allocations to implement these resolutions and give full effect to the best wishes of the House.
Following the presentation of the budget, the House immediately took debates on the second reading of the bill, during which they spoke on the general principles of the 2022 budget, the performance of the 2021 budget, among other issues. The debates were led by the House Leader, Representative Ado Dogwa.
16.449 trillion. I believe this was the highest figure we have ever had in the course of our engagement on a money bill. Especially the COVID-19 issue, we need a lot of money to really service our health facilities, to provide for effective health care delivery for our people.
The 2022 Appropriation Bill passed second reading on the 14th of October 2021, after which it was committed to the Appropriation Committee, with other committees acting as subcommittees in the budget defense exercise.
And all this
during budget defense exercise, various committees of the House met with ministries, departments and agencies to x-ray the performance of the 2021 budget and go through the proposals for the 2022 budget. One recurring decimal during the defense was the request for increased appropriations by ministries as they cited low allocations to meet their demands.
We have cases of projects that were started by a member, and then an election comes, then he is no longer there, and the new member that comes is not interested in continuing. He has his allocation for zonal intervention project, and he takes it elsewhere, and this project is left unfinished. I think as a body, the National Assembly needs to look at this problem, because we have so many abandoned projects like that.
The lawmakers on their part harped on increased IGR and accountability of funds by revenue-generating agencies.
In 2021, the personnel cost of the ministry, if I can vividly remember, was 1.9 billion. And then this year's estimate, and I'm sure there was no recruitment, some people died, some people left the job, there was no salary increase. And this year, the executive presented an estimate for the ministry for personnel around 2 billion. But what I will advise you, find out what is happening. Because the personnel cost of the federal government, the entire budget, is increasing by every year, and then there is freezing on employment. No ministry, no agency of government that is employing, they are only replacing those that are even replacing. Please, the ministry should check and find out if there is no build-up of ghost workers, not from the ministry, from the Department of IPPS. My own thought is that there are promotions, maybe also these annual increments and so on and so forth. But I will also tell you that this very question was raised even at Federal Executive Council when we were deliberating on the budget. And I recall that Mr. President directed that an audit be conducted in some of the government agencies to try to find out, to ensure that some illegal appointments and recruitments are not being made. Budget proposal by the Minister of Water Resources is hereby admitted for consideration by the Committee on Water Resources.
Some committees use the time to also visit agencies they oversee to physically see evidence of budget performance. The Committee on Science and Technology, chaired by Representative Benny La, is a case in point. With all this done, the House received the report of the Committee on Appropriation chaired by Representative Aliu Betara on Tuesday, the 21st of December 2021. Representative Aliu Betara said the report was as a result of work done on the submission of estimates by the President. He noted that the 2022 budget will be the last to be fully implemented by the current administration. According to Betara, the report took cognizance of the benchmark estimates and the financial economic realities of current times. He urged members to support and approve the recommendations in the spirit of harmonious execution of projects for the good of Nigeria.
Where this budget is passed today, is our hope that all hands will be on deck between the executive and the legislature, including all our citizens, to ensure the difference is made to all. I thank the Honorable Speaker, the leadership of the House, and the subcommittees, indeed, all my colleagues, for their cooperation in the course of the budget work. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
In summary, the House passed a budget of 17.127 trillion naira as budget for the 2022 fiscal year. Highlights of the 2022 budget as passed by the House include an increase of 736 billion naira above the 16.391 trillion naira submitted by President Muhammadu Buhari in October. An increase in the oil price benchmark from $57 to $62. 1.88 million barrels per day as daily oil production. 410 naira to $1 as exchange rate. 4.2% GDP growth rate and 13% inflation rate for the 2022 fiscal year. A further breakdown of the 2022 budget as passed by the 9th House shows that statutory transfer will go up 869.667 billion naira. Recurrent expenditure was allocated 6.910 trillion naira, 5.467 trillion naira for capital expenditure, and 3.870 trillion naira for debt service in 2022. Still on the 2022 budget breakdown for the National Assembly, 33 billion naira was allocated to the Senate, 51.995 billion naira for the House of Representatives, 7.734 billion naira for National Assembly Service Commission, 100 billion naira was also approved for zonal intervention projects, while 10 billion naira was allocated for National Assembly liabilities.
You're onto the program House Tickets, and so far we have been reviewing the last sitting of the House of Representatives for the year 2021, focusing on the passage of the budget. We have also brought you a summary of the charge the Speaker gave his colleagues as they close the year. Moving on now, we shall take a report of some other money bills passed by the House before the recess. The report is presented from our studio.
Tuesday, the 21st of December 2021, the Speaker read a letter from the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria requesting for violation of the 2021 Appropriation Act to fund critical expenditure in the 2021 budget.
The 2021 budget implementation is faced with challenges that will require additional funding for some critical and urgent line items in the budget. The purpose of this letter, therefore, is to forward the comprehensive environment proposal for the consideration and approval of the National Assembly.
The lawmakers therefore approved President Buhari's environment request of 276.757 billion naira from the 13.588 trillion naira approved in the 2021 Appropriation Act, as well as 983 billion naira approved in the Supplementary Appropriation Act on July 26, 2021. Along these lines, the House approved the extension of the implementation of the 2021 Appropriation Act by 90 days. A motion seeking that the 2021 budget implementation rolls over till the 31st of March 2022 was sponsored by the Majority Leader, Honorable Ado Dogwa, and subsequently approved by the House.
The House of Representatives may wish to recall that I signed the 2021 appropriation on December 31st, 2020 for a total expenditure of 13,588 and a supplementary appropriation to to cater for critical needs of the security and health sector in the sum of 983 billion on July 26, 2021. You may also recall that during the signing of the 2021 Appropriation Act, I mentioned that when necessary, I will revert to the National Assembly with a request for amendment, environment, or other appropriate adjustments to ensure that the core objectives of the budget are accomplished. Accordingly, the 2021 budget implementation is faced with challenges that will require additional funding for some critical and urgent line items in the budget. The purpose of this letter, therefore, is to forward the comprehensive environment proposal for the consideration and approval of the National Assembly. The details of the expenditures proposed for the environment are attached herewith as Schedule 1, with Schedule 2 shows the sources of the funds to be via for the items in Schedule 1. In the light of the above, I implore the House to urgently consider the environment proposals to support our efforts to improve the well-being of our citizens.
Still on money bills, the House considered the report of the Committee on Finance Bill, which seeks to amend the Capital Gains Tax Act, Companies Income Tax, Federal Inland Revenue Service Establishment Act, Personal Income Tax Act, Tertiary Education Trust Establishment Act, Value Added Tax, Insurance Act, Nigerian Police Trust Fund Establishment Act, National Agency for Science and Engineering Infrastructure Act, Finance Control and Management Act, and Fiscal Responsibility Act, and for other related matters. It was presented by the chairman of the committee, Representative James Faleke. The Committee on Finance also presented for the approval of the House the report of the 2022 budget of the Federal Inland Revenue Service (FIRS) to the tune of 215.811 billion naira, out of which the sum of 119.068 is for personal cost, 60.016 billion is for overhead cost, and 35.097 billion naira for capital expenditure for the year ending December 2022.
That the House do receive report of the Committee on Finance on the issue from the Statutory Revenue Fund of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, the total sum of 215 billion 811 290,243 $243,000 naira only, out of which 119 billion 668 million naira only is for personnel cost, while 60 billion 16 million naira is for overhead cost, and 35 billion 97 million naira only is for capital cost for the year ending 31st December 2022.
In favor of the motion, please say aye. Just get me say name. Ayes have it.
Both reports were considered and approved by the House.
Signature bonus, domestic recurrent.
Meanwhile, several bills came third reading during the week under review, among which are a bill for an act to establish Federal University of Medicine and Medical Sciences, Abeokuta, Ogun State, and for related matters, a bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Federal University of Birnin Kebbi, Kebbi State, and for related matters, a bill for an act to establish the Federal Medical Center, Ogara, Delta State, and for related matters, a bill for an act to repeal the Advertising Practitioners Act Cap A7, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and enact the Advertising Practitioners Bill of a Council for Advertising as the apex regulatory authority for the Nigerian advertising profession, and practice and ensure smooth operations of the councils, and for related matters, a bill for an act to repeal the Civil Aviation Act Cap C13, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and enact the Civil Aviation Bill for the regulation of civil aviation in Nigeria and for related matters, and a bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Nigerian Safety Investigative Bureau for the regulation, prevention, and providing effective administration for safety investigation in Nigeria and for related matters.
Those in support, please say aye. Against, please say nay. Ayes have it.
This is where we sign off on this episode of House Ticket for the week and for the year 2021. We urge you to follow the program on our social media platforms on display. And don't forget to send in your feedback through questions, comments, and observations on the workings of the legislature. Many thanks for watching. Stay safe and see you in the new year. Bye.